How is this one different?
Honestly, with this one, I still think I have a pit in my stomach. I'm not sure that the game's over and we won. I'm really relieved. I mean,
and a huge win for the Cleveland Browns.
Being right. He was one catch away from being right.
But consider how big that is for the Browns, especially when you consider the fact that the Bengals pulled out that win.
Holy cow, guys. What a game. And I nearly had a heart attack on that last Hail Mary play. The Browns are literally shocking the world, and they shouldn't be able to do what they're doing. They are playing with what basically is a practice squad offensive line outside of Bitonio and Teller. They lost their Hall of Fame running back in Nick Chubb. They lost their $230 million QB, and they have lost a good amount of their defense. But now they somehow sit at 9-5 and are in a great spot to make the playoffs, thanks to the play of 38-year-old Joe Flacco, who was literally watching football at his mom's house 3 weeks ago. In this video, I'm going to be talking all about the win over the Bears and what's to come next for this team, since their 3 remaining games are all winnable and they still have a chance to get the 1 seed in the entire AFC. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind, and your support truly does mean the world. Alright. So starting off with Joe Flacco, it really is starting to feel like this isn't lightning in a bottle, and he still has a lot left in him. Obviously there still have been some bad mistakes, but that's to be expected when you learn a completely new and complicated offense in a very short amount of time. And if he can clean things up over the next 3 weeks before heading into the playoffs, then I think this can actually be a pretty dangerous team, because the defense does not give up any points. Crazy enough, the Browns nearly lost, only giving up points on offense. Anyways, to get into a recap of the game, there was really nothing that happened early on, but after Flacco threw a near pick 6 because of a miscommunication, the Bears were able to score a touchdown, but it took them 5 or 6 plays because of how good the Browns defense is and because the refs bailed them out on a dumb pass interference call. But after this, Joe Flacco and the Browns responded with a touchdown of their own on a crazy catch by David Nook after driving pretty much all the way down the field. Before halftime, the Bears had a chance to kick a pretty reasonable field goal, but for whatever reason, they threw a Hail Mary instead, and that definitely came back to bite them at the end of things. Anyways, the second half of the game was a little bit more action-packed, and the third quarter was all Bears. Flacco threw a real pick 6 this time, but even this wasn't 100% his fault, because there was a lot of luck involved. And then Chicago kicked a field goal after that to make the score 17-7 to take what pretty much felt like a commanding lead at that point in the game. But after this, the Flacco magic started to kick in, and he led the Browns down the field to get a field goal, and then after a few big stops by the defense with his back against the wall, he absolutely threaded the needle to Amari Cooper, who caught the ball in traffic and somehow broke loose and scored a touchdown that blew the roof off the stadium, because the dog pound had been waiting all game for something to get loud about. And after this moment, the Browns had all the momentum, and you knew they were going to win this game. There is just something about this year that feels different, and instead of wondering how they're going to lose, it's how are they going to find a way to win. So yeah, the Browns defense got another stop pretty easily, and Flacco got the ball back with about 3 minutes left in the game, and he found Njoku wide open to get to midfield, and then after that, the rest was history. And man, shout out to Dustin Hopkins. The dude has been money all year, and he's had a ton of game winners. And after kicking one to take the lead with about 30 seconds left, Justin Fields tossed up a Hail Mary that nearly gave every Browns fan a heart attack after the ball was tipped to Darnell Mooney, who had the ball in his hands but ended up losing it and kicking it up, which led to an interception. So after all that, the Browns came out of this game with a 20-17 W, and Joe Flacco ended the game with 374 yards and 2 interceptions. So even in a game that felt like he was struggling in, he came through when it mattered most, and he is quickly becoming a fan favorite. And man, if he can lead this team to a deep playoff run somehow with the depleted team that he has around him, then he's going to be remembered in this city forever. And also, I want to talk more about David Nook because he's been waiting his whole career for a QB that has chemistry with him, and Flacco finally does. And Amari Cooper is another guy that has been huge since Flacco has arrived in town, and as crazy as it may sound, he is only like 200 yards away from Cleveland becoming the best statistical season that he has ever had. And I hope this team can find a way to keep him around, because there's a good chance that he will be headed somewhere else because of the money situation and how much salary Cleveland has tied up in Watson. And speaking of Deshaun, the things that Joe Flacco are doing right now have to be driving him crazy. I know he probably still wants this team to win, but it's weird how he's not even on the sideline anymore. And hopefully he uses this as fuel to come back stronger next season, because as much as I and many other people are frustrated by him, he's still Cleveland's QB, and I believe he's going to come back stronger than ever next season. As for the defense, week after week, the unit seems to get even better, and with the return of Denzel Ward, the corners had the receivers on lockdown. And like I said, pretty much all the points the Bears scored were because of the offense. The defense did their job. And I still just love the swagger they play with as a group. They have so much fun out there, and they swarm to the ball. Like, for an opponent to pick up multiple first downs in a drive is quite rare. And it's still crazy the lack of calls they get. Myles Garrett even called out the refs for it, got fined, and they still missed the most obvious holdings that I've ever seen. Like, Myles Garrett is held almost every single play, and towards the end of the game, he took all his anger out and ripped right through about 6 guys to get to Fields. This team is just so resilient this season, and it just feels like nothing can get in their way. And I was really hoping the Jags could pull off a miracle and beat the Ravens, but Trevor Lawrence is actually so bad. But Baltimore still has to play San Francisco and Miami, so the division title is not out of sight for Cleveland, but things definitely need to happen. And looking ahead at the Browns' schedule, they got the Texans, Jets, and Bengals, so they should easily win 2 out of 3. But if they can pull off all 3 in a row, then things are gonna get interesting. That's really all I have to say for this video. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point, and if you enjoyed and haven't yet, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, because your support truly means the world. With playoff time quickly approaching, there is just so much to talk about across the NFL, so let me know what you would like to see next. And until then, I will see you all later.